Welcome to Mercy's Designs. My name is Mercy and I sell Stampin' Up! Products. In today's tutorial, I would like to show you how I made this spinner penny card. And as you can see, it's really a lot of fun. I was inspired by Tammy White's video, and she did a sports theme, and I thought this would be a fun set to use the sailing home. And I also brought in the colorful seasons. And for the water part, Lilypad Lake, I believe it's called. It's a carryover set. So to get started, we're going to do a little bit of stamping. I'm going to bring in my Stamparatus, and this is a brand new product that Stampin' Up! Is offering now in the holiday catalog. So I would like to go ahead and show you how it works. I have already stamped here, die cut it out, and then I die cut out white pieces, and this makes stamping a lot faster. So if you haven't tried this technique out, you should with the Stamparatus. So this is a pigment ink, and you want to go ahead, do it a couple times. I found to get the best coverage. I don't know how this got shifted a little. I think I must have pushed on it. But you want to make sure it's nice and flat, and then press. And I find that it takes a couple times to do this to get a really nice impression. And because it's a pigment ink, you really want to give this quite a bit of time to dry. So probably about 10 minutes before using it. So it's really nice and dark here. It's a little light there. So I can just come in, just want to show here, and simply hit it one more time where I feel like it needs it the most. And so I'm pretty happy with that now. And we're gonna set this aside to dry. You definitely don't want to use it at this point. So where did I put my lid? Oh, here it is. To clean it, I would suggest using a baby wipe, because this has a lot of sparkle and it's gonna come off. If you use your stamping chamois, you're gonna get a lot of like sparkly stuff. So I think that using a baby wipe works well. I am using a Huggies one. It does not leave a ton of lint like some brands, so I like it. And I also find that red rubber does a little better with the wipes than photopolymer. Photopolymer, it tends to stick more. So that's just my thought on that. Okay, so I'm going to bring in this. This has been laminated, and this is helpful when you're sponging. So the first thing we're going to stamp is this water scene. And I have a piece of Whisper White here, and this Whisper White measures 3 3¾ by 5 inches. So I am going to just go ahead, try to make this as straight as possible, this part. And then I'm going to stamp again, but this time it's going to go off the page. So I'm just bringing something in to protect my surface. And I'm not going to be too concerned to line this up perfectly, because the lighthouse will be covering it. So that's one nice thing about that. So I have a stamping sponge here, and I like to mark it with a little paper and write the name on it. So I dedicate pretty much one little fourth for every one of my colors, especially the ones I really use a lot, which I definitely use oh, I know why this is a little gold. I have a little bit on my thumb. I was like, what? Why does that look gold? I got a little bit of ink there, but I'm really not concerned, because the Balmy Blue is really a close color, and the sky isn't going to be perfectly one color. So even if I got that, incorporated the two colors, it would not be bad at all. So with the Balmy Blue, I'm just going to start off the page and add a little color. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on sponging, because this is just a kind of a rustic look beach scene that I'm going for. I'm not like trying to overthink it or anything like that. So The next part I'm going to do is go ahead and stamp the sentiment here. And I will bring in, because it's the photopolymer, it is recommended to have some the stamping mat. So I'm just going to ink this up really well, and I'm going to stamp it somewhat left and top. That makes sense. I love this sentiment. It's just fantastic from the Colorful Seasons. It's probably my favorite of the sentiments, although there are quite a few I use quite a bit. All right, so now we can stamp a little bit of the birds, but I'm gonna go ahead and bring in one that's dried and use it as kind of a dry layout so that I know where I can stamp these birds and they still show up. So I have with me right now, I have the soft suede. And when you're stamping, be careful not to over ink and don't press like crazy when you're stamping this. So just a word to the wise. So I just want it almost off the page, but I still on it. Okay, so the next part is we're going to have to make our little groove here. And one of the things that Tammy White suggested was using the Lilypad Lake die, opposed to using what a lot of people do, which is the classic label punch. So you can see you can make a little groove there with that, but it doesn't run as smoothly as when you use the die. So I'm going to go ahead and bring in the Big Shot. I'm just moving some stuff so I have a clear path on my desk. All right, so here's the Big Shot. And what I want to do, obviously I don't want this on. I want to make this as straight as possible. So I'm going to and fit it pretty much like a 1/2 inch over. So sorry about my head, but I definitely want this hopefully as straight as possible so it runs smoothly too. And I would recommend not doing what I'm doing right now, but it will warp your plates faster if you do that sort of thing. But it's awkward to do this on camera, so I'm making a few allowances. Okay, so here is how it looks, and it's got some little dust or something on there. So this makes this little groove here. The next part will be assembling and stamping our little, what is it called? The compass. Wow, it's getting late. I'm filming this at my bedtime, so you will have to excuse me. So ink it up really well, check it out. If it's not good, go back at it again. Hold down and we're good. Okay, so just breathe, right? That's a great sentiment, I love it. All right, so I'm going to bring in the 1.5 inch punch, and this punches this out perfectly. It's the perfect size. It's just enough of a white border, but it is also very quick and easy to punch. So I'm thrilled that Stampin' Up! Did that. Now, what you'll want is a couple of these little mini dimensionals. And what I like to do is kind of hold it into the light and try to find my center. And if that doesn't, and then look at it again, and then take off my backing. So I'm going to get a second one here and stack it. Stacking is very important. And before I take that off, we'll do the next step, which is bringing in my penny. So here's my penny. And what I like to do is go ahead and set this down, the penny down. Well, actually, no, I'm sorry. I like to set this down, put this over it, and then take off my adhesive back, and then try to, as straight as possible, find the center of the penny and just set it right down. So it will look like this. And this spins pretty well once you get it going. All right, so the next step is to bring in our 3M tape, which I've already prepared some because you need it double thick and it just takes some time to do that. So rather than not having to waste everyone's time watching that, I just have it ready. The important thing also is to remember, don't get it too close here. You want enough of a trough, if you will. So I'm just taking this off now. I can move that aside. And I've already prepared a base here, and this is Pool Party base, and then it's Pretty Peacock, and I have a little bit of a 1/4 inch border here. So it's the typical 5.5 wide by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4, and then this piece is 4 inches by 5 1/4. So very standard. This is somewhat non-stick, my table. Otherwise I would not have gotten away with that. All right, so we're just going to go ahead, place this down, and then we're going to go ahead and add the rest of the elements, which is our beautiful lighthouse. And this is a dried one. I did accidentally smudge my one that I showed I did, so that was too bad. When I was moving things around, I was careless. But if you let it dry for like 10-15 minutes on its own, you do not need to heat set it. So if you're not into wanting to use the heat gun because it causes a little warping, then that is the best way, is just to do that. So the final thing is I want to bring in these little adorable pieces, die cuts, and I die cut this out using the Sailing Home dies, and these little things to gauge are really cute, and I had never used them, which is crazy. So I thought, why not? I should try it. It's part of the set and I have it, and why am I not using it? So I am using art glitter glue because it dries clear. I like to use it occasionally. I still prefer Tombow, but once in a while I do like using this art glitter glue. So this probably would have been better to do before I added all this, but not too big of a deal. So here is the spinner card, and you can see it spins really nicely. Now I did one using the classic label punch, and I'm going to bring that in and show you the difference. So you can see how well that spins. And then this is with the classic label punch. It's much harder to get it to go. Sometimes you can get it to spin, but it really kind of catches a lot more. So I highly recommend using a die instead to create that little trough for it. It works so much better. So the last thing I want to do is stamp inside. So I have this little anchor, and I'm going to bring in the Pretty Peacock. I was just looking for that, and stamp it. If you liked this video and found it helpful and want to give this penny spinner card a try, I would be really excited. And don't forget to give me a thumbs up and subscribe. If you have any stamping needs, please email me at mewants3@gmail.com, and I'd be happy to assist you with placing an order with the host code. So I'm going to also bring in the original card. I do kind of prefer this color scheme of the new one. But if you're curious, this is Poppy Parade, and of course Soft Suede, and the Coastal Cabana was here, and then Balmy Blue is the only thing that's the exact same. So I hope you enjoyed this. It's a lot of fun. Spinner cards just are very interactive, and I think the recipient will really enjoy this. So spin away. Happy stamping.